Underneath gray, cloudy skies lies one of the few ultra-cities in the United Republic of America, set along the northwest coast, capital of lights and noise, with a gross population of 42 million. Within the crowd and noise walks a man with a large trench coat, covering himself from the rain falling heavily from the night sky, colliding with buildings and skyscrapers a mile high and a full street wide. They are ecosystems to themselves, a vast maze of towers reaching towards the clouds, lights, windows, and large billboards shining with neon lights projecting huge faces smiling at you and holding up an purchasable object or a logo from a corporation, flashing to catch the eye from the people walking the wet streets below. In the rain, through groups of people with parasols walking in crowds headed to their own destinations. Car horns honk and move through the traffic on the streets, stopping and going between light signals between the buildings. Low hums fly by between buildings, vehicle lights dashing overhead. The only thing connecting the ground level is steam rising from small buildings in the night air. The city is in constant movement of lights and sounds. Walking in a gap of people, a man sits down when a chair opens up at a noodle stand. He sits, covering himself from the rain, the small stand bellowing smoke high from the cooking food into the night sky. Two older men walk around in the small box they made for themselves to work in. One man cooking and the other cleaning or taking payment while trying to wave in new customers to sit and eat off the street. The man sits down, gets comfortable. He looks quite exhausted. When asked what he would like, he holds out his fingers and points, ordering a number 4 off the menu. Thinking to himself, finally I can sit down. I should have plenty of time to relax, not having to move, and can be alone with my thoughts for a while. 2 minutes pass by as the sitting man gets handed a steaming paper box with a red dragon logo on the side of it. He gets handed 2 sticks to eat with as he tries to place them in his fingers. He wishes he had other options here. The man smiles and nods, saying thank you, smiling at him, accepts payment. The man paying gives him back a small smile out of courtesy. He eats, protecting his noodles, rice, and some meat from stray raindrops falling from above him. He lets out a sigh of relief and begins eating quietly by himself. I don't know why this street is so busy at 1 a.m., he thought to himself as someone bumped into his back shoulder. Not even ordering at the stand, but just part of a crowd of people piled up behind him coming from off the street in the rain. As they start a conversation with themselves next to him, giving off the ideas they are staying for a while. I can't even have a couple minutes of peace and quiet to myself. These people making their noises around me, I was hoping to take a moment and eat in peace. This city has enough problems without drunks stumbling around and bumping into people who are trying to relax. I'm not one to fly off the handle for a minor inconvenience. That's what makes me so good at my particular job. I was always good at previous jobs. I think it's because I've most always been so level-headed in my life, or perhaps I just got numb to the people and problems around me. A lot of it is so inconsequential when you step away and look at it all. I'm only 38. I don't know if it's just the way I've always been over-observant of how people act around me. I always thought that was a good characteristic for my job. Being a Spectre agent, you need to be observant, calm, smart, and level-headed. I was told before I was hired that they always tried to promote police officers to agents if they moved up high above the ranks with a considerable record and physical and psychological normality test. But most people nowadays are too aggressive, quick to overreact, or make a large mistake because of their lack of self-control. Something about neurons not connecting properly in the head with some people, stuff on past genetics. Some officers even have to be tested if they want to move up high enough, and after years of that job, dealing with criminals, creeps, and lowlives, that makes them sloppy and quick to kill their target. As an officer, you're supposed to just keep the peace and not kill civilians in a bloodbath of blind rage if someone's firing back at you while trying to catch or kill one perpetrator. With all the peace officers in the city, if someone commits a crime, an officer is never too far away and with backup to catch them. With all the witnesses and cameras, it's most likely they will have you in cuffs soon. But if there's a crime without a trace of the criminal, they call one of us. I know 5 other sleeper agents at my headquarters. A couple have been doing it for a while, a lot longer than I have. The new hires I can see are going to get themselves fired soon, doing something stupid, or get themselves killed doing something even more stupid. It's obvious simply by how they talk or by observing their training. I would never call myself an exceptionally intelligent man. All the tests I took in school and for this job came out average. It's just most criminals that I've seen so far do stupid things. Once they decide to break the law, they either stand out by making large mistakes or do things completely obvious to get them killed in any situation or arrested by the state police. Criminals are predictable and stupid, especially these younger ones, happy to loudly boast what they did to whoever is around or who they are with, to make them look cool or badass, I guess. I don't get it. I've been doing this for at least 4.5 years. I like to think that I haven't seen everything yet, but there are large patterns to pay attention to, and if you can do my job correctly, be smart, you can go home alive. I can't imagine how people did my line of work before cybernetics or the internet. During my training, they touched on it briefly, how it was done almost 200 years ago before the 20th century. I think it would be something like how I do it now. Just have to be more face to face, in person, and know where to look instead of how. It's more how to look and where now they knocked on doors or just relied on asking people to their face. I can imagine a lot of people never got caught. I have my own kind of hardships nowadays in a city this big and with all the cybernetic, body-altering genetics, artificial intelligent robots, and whatever mutations people can get from past exposure to radiation. It's all up to you if you want to try and get away with a crime. It's how much money you got to alter your appearance and change your cybernetics history. It's dangerous, but I've seen people try to implant someone else's past memories to cover up their past or crimes, but in the world we live in now, you would have to change a million other things to cover up a large screw-up you did, and no current cybernetics can change that. And who would? When you can just board a ship off-world, if you have that kind of cash anyways, go on an off-world colony in space or live on one of our other planets or moons in our solar system, it's not like our laws are different on them. You can buy yourself some time, no one would be currently pursuing you on them. But if it's not me hunting you down, it's another Spectre. If you don't commit another crime in front of an officer first, they don't ask me to go off-world and terminate or apprehend any fugitives. I would just be stepping on someone else's job. They do allow me in pursuit to follow off-world. I'm usually not that sloppy and never had a situation get that close. I've personally never been off-world. The space colonies look better than the planets we have colonized. There it's 90% all underground with mile-high cities with lights giving off vitamin D. Not super ideal for some, but that's what you get for being the first to start colonizing off-world. You become a test run. The test run for everything. How to keep people healthy, fed, maintain clean air and water, which I hear you can farm in space. I hear they have large domes with the animals they've taken for food. On the planets, everything needs to have a use or multiple uses for it. They have the domes that catch the methane from the animals and use that or the fat and make soap and recycle trash to make roads. All stuff I'm sure works out in the long run on those planets. But the space colony floating out there has an artificial blue sky and even climate reactors. It's its own floating planet. Grass, dirt, worms, pigs, even flowers and insects. They have ads out there making it sounds like the best thing definitely seems easier making a planet from scratch. The Earth perfected, they call it in the ads. That's if you can afford it. No worries about illegal refugees crossing borders or natural births. They've got everything up there just how they want it. We have a big enough overpopulation here without these natural births. Ever since all these radical third world countries started taking down their corrupt governments in the 21st century, you would think things would have gotten better for them. But no, it started around 90 years ago, all from who knows what, political unrest, cultural differences, overpopulation, which I'm sure was just a snowball effect for the outcome. The people who were later put in charge to replace the last leaders then became corrupt themselves. Big shock. I even heard stories that people high up didn't have plans past 50 years or even 20 after they took over. Just a way of keeping them comfortable, in power and rich. All the people ruined their whole country, sold all their resources, which left nothing left for the larger populations. Basically stripped their own country clean and then started wars for more. And after your country gets bombed to shit with radioactive bombs and bioweapons from your own people in other countries, you start wars, depleting and destroying any and all natural resources and all animal life around. And when you can't market from your own country, it makes all these angry dumb idiots more angry, looking for someone else to blame for all their downfalls. Then they move on to the next place. They called themselves refugees and go on to the next country like locusts. Then all these rich political leaders who I've never seen a crime that wasn't on their news feed let millions of people in their country and expect hand-holding and smiles. After only a few generations, these people took over political positions and outbred the former population, then changed to laws to find or arrest anyone fighting back. Then after bringing their hate, anger, lack of personal space or care of their neighbor or the care of the planet they live on and destroyed the next country they're in, quicker than the last. I remember my parents talking about how they were only children when the European economy fell. England, France, and a few other countries kept taking in refugees, and these people made the same choices they made in the last countries they were in. Just like clockwork, people protested, governments didn't care, and the whole kingdom fell around them as people scratched and clawed, tearing everything down from the ground up. That's when the bigger countries came together and started the Lock Ordinance. It was every country for themselves, closed borders. Nobody gets in. Nobody gets out. It started with Russia after that, Japan. Then other countries were smart enough to do it. From what I read, America barely did it in time. Refugees trying to pour in everywhere, bringing every hate-filled ideology with them with open hands. One hand opened asking for aid, and with a rock behind their backs with the other. My parents told me the United States almost collapsed. Between all that craziness with all the nuclear bombs and terrorist attacks, that became the go-to. You blow up a building, killing hundreds, or burn down thousands of acres of forest, or release a biological weapon in a major city to get your message around that you are full of hate, or hate that person or this government or corporation, or just hate another religion. A large chunk of the world was wiped out of existence because some assholes or groups of assholes felt that was the way to make the world a better place. Now half of the planet is unlivable, shrouded in radioactive dust that plumes miles high. Dead dirt deserts holding no life, not even insects for thousands of miles. They still talk about what happened in Colorado, one of the largest terrorist attacks in Republic of United States history. After that, the population was moved to super cities. They talked about having lots of jobs, food, fresh air, clean water, so the masses moved to the coasts. The middle of the country now uninhabitable and unprotected from the government. I think there's 4 or 5 super cities in the United States. Before it joined the Lock Ordinance, the United States took land from Canada and Mexico through annexation and the northern part of South America. From what I heard, Canada was taken fast. They had their large share of ecological problems, large-scale forest fires, terrorist attacks from bringing in millions of people from the Middle East after their continent became uninhabitable. I'm sure America would have taken more land south, but when they took over, they pushed out the native inhabitants further down South America. I think there's a super city down there, but they have such a large population, probably from people seeking to get inside. They built a large wall and a kill zone of a few miles between the city and the land they don't own, south of the city. But that's not my problem. I'm sure there's pockets of towns and cities here and there, but they never get on the news to tell us how they are doing with crime or growth. Exciting times the 21st century was. Worldwide diseases killing large portions of animals, poisoning our food stock. When I was a kid, they talked about how the honeybees died from all the poisons they put in our food, meant to kill off insects that were nuisance to farms. Then larger animals went completely extinct. Crazy times. 22nd century is a lot calmer. People like to call it the slow death of our species. All the radiation and genetic poisons that our bodies had from the generations before that they put in the sky, water, and food to make food cheaper, bigger, and faster to grow. Without looking at the future negative outcome of genetically modifying our food and us putting it in our bodies or feeding it to the animals we eat, poisoning our food. Plastics, experimental bioweapons put in our food all caught up with us generations later. You can see how most people aren't quite right in the head now, pulling out a knife for someone bumping their shoulder while walking down the street, or killing someone because their car crashed into theirs. Most people don't think 2 minutes after something happens when in a blind instant they lose their mind with rage. I don't know what portion of these people are even citizens or natural births. People born in a hospital who get registered can get to vote, get free health care. When you're old enough, if both you are both citizens, after some paperwork, you can apply for approval to have a child of your own. My wife and I have been talking about having a kid lately. She's a bit younger than me. I'm not too old to have a kid, just in my line of work. If I get dumb and sloppy, kid's not going to have a father. But as long as I stay smart and do my job, well, I should be fine. We never wanted kids before, but after I got this job, we moved to a better building. No blackouts, no police raids. The money is a lot better. If there was a middle class, I would say we definitely would be in it. She got a new job at a school. I think it was being around all those children. She decided she wanted us to have one of our own. Every time she asks me about it, I get quiet. We talk and I bring up a few questions and talk about it, but I never give her the answer she wants. I might surprise her soon with the paperwork, then we can get started on that. I'm sure she'll be tickled pink about the idea. A man bumps into the back of my shoulder, really leaning into me this time. I keep my cool, turn my head, tap on his shoulder politely. He turns, I flash my badge. His face drops from laughing at his friend's joke, probably half drunk to see his future flash before his eyes at that moment. I simply say to him, "Can you be more careful? I'm trying to eat and you bumped into me." His whole group apologizes in a worried manner and they leave. I make it a point to show everyone around, holding my badge up high. I take it out from inside of my coat's thick pocket, where it was resting against the left side of my chest. It gets quiet as everyone turns their heads to me and I sit back down, continuing to eat. This job definitely has its perks compared to my last job. Before this, I worked in one of the underground warehouses. Just an average job, go down to the tunnel, get on my train, it moves 2 miles down. There's not enough room on the surfaces for miles of buildings for people to work with all the structures, buildings, apartments, and offices on the surface. This was basic work. I always had a good attitude about working and was never late. I never could understand how some people mess up their life so easily. You know how long it takes you to get to work, especially if you've been there before. I've seen guys come in 10, 20 minutes late every day until they got fired. It's always the same distance you came from. So I came in, took the train, put on my gloves, clocked in. It was a simple job. No wonder why they hire so much. There are a lot of homeless and beggars in the streets. I've never known any level headed person myself having a problem finding a job in this city. Always had tons of work, always lots to do with the never ending expansion of this city. Some people are just wired differently. My job was not that hard. I did it for 8 years myself. You just put pieces together, read the schematics. They change the jobs now and then. You got your parts. It was a simple job. Put it together in an orderly time, move on to the next order. There wasn't a lot of talking while you were working. Everyone had their cybernetics to listen to something while you worked, or even watch something, as long as you pay attention to your work and do your job well and didn't make mistakes, finished in a good time. It's a simple, fine paying job. I can't imagine how people did something like this without cybernetics. Working a 12-hour shift, just staring at the same thing 5 or 6 days a week. Next thing you know, all you did was look at a handful of the same objects. Then you realize 20 years went by. At least now I can listen to books or watch something if I was going to make something I've made 1,000 times before. After a while, it's all muscle memory. I just play something and watch my body go as I play one of my favorite programs. It was good work. Pay was fine. The corporation I worked for even gave lodging to people who signed a package. You put yourself in a little debt to them. They give you a room, more like a closet, but it's got a bed, sink, mirror, and drawers. A place to sleep that's warm and safe and dry. Even provided food out of vending machines placed inside the walls. If you've got money for it, I've eaten from it now and then. Those machines charge almost twice as much as the food you can get on the surface. But if you don't bring your food underground, what are you going to eat if you're hungry? One day, this guy who's only been there a couple of weeks wanted to take one of my tools because he couldn't find his. I told him, now if he wants to borrow mine, he can wait to borrow it and he can sign for it, but I'm using it now. He did not like that response and started to try to pick a fight with me. I remained calm as I always do in most situations. If this guy touched me, he would lose his job and security would come and beat him with nightsticks. One of the last things corporations like to see is some assholes stopping other people from working and potentially damaging their equipment or product. I explained to him exactly what's going to happen. I don't think he was listening, but luckily then one of the guards happened to make a pass by a window. I raised my hand signaling him to come here. The guard turned, saw what happened. We had to file a report. The next day the guy never showed up. But my boss at the time saw how I handled the situation. He pulled me in his office, told me he had seen situations like that many other times. One guy points, the other guy points back, then the yelling, then the fighting starts. He was super impressed how I kept a level head in that situation. Then he told me in a few months he'll be leaving. He got a job in the main district as a high-ranked officer. I had no idea when he was younger he used to be one. He told me things happen like they can. He retired from doing that to working here, but good offers came his way, so he decided it was time to go back. He told me they're always looking for smart, level-headed people for Spectre agents. People who can take the job, find a person in the city, take them out professionally without collateral damage, and people who know how to use the tools they are giving to do the job right and be smart. 8 months later, with a recommendation from him, here I am. One of 5 Spectre agents. I don't get the name, something about regular officers don't see you for weeks on end, so they don't know if you're working or dead. I didn't find it particularly funny, but hell, I'm making good money working, and I like working alone. Not that I'm a loner, but I work faster by myself, though I have requested help finding people in this city before. It always takes connections, and I make it a point to make sure everybody knows who I am. I don't wear a police uniform. My wife likes how I dress. Gotta walk into a place undetected, best to look casual. I normally have my black colored shirt, blue tie, with my vest, dark pants, and of course my trench coat. I like how I dress, as well I look unexpected, but I won't get turned away entering a high established building. I'd rather walk around freely without having people see my badge first giving my presence away. So officers normally know what I look like and how I dress. I need all the help I can get working, and the last thing I need is some cop who didn't read their report on who I am and what I look like, what I do, shooting me in the chest or in the back while I'm chasing someone down because he thinks I'm the one who committed the crime. I even had to de-escalate an incident once with a young officer. I let him take me in handcuffed back to his station. After a couple hours, they let me go. They explained to him who I was. I could see someone higher up than him yelling and pointing at him in an office. You think with all these cybernetics, these young kids would actually read or listen to their reports. I've never been too radical one way or the other with cybernetics. I've always had the usual stuff people have before I got this job. Simple things everyone has. I have my block phone. It holds all my information, coded only to me, connected to all my cybernetics. It can change anything I need to change with my block phone with a wide range of connections and my cybernetics. Our block carries all our information, links to our bank account connection, links to all ports we need to connect to in our daily needs. On my pad next to my computer, it syncs my visual vortex directly to my monitor, hands-free and faster information. As much as I need, I'm sure other Spectres have more advanced cybers. I just did what I feel I need to complete my job. A little strength endorphins, stamina enhancers, finger grip lockers. I got my pistol coded to my hand. I don't need some pumpkin-headed kid breaking into my house, stealing my weapon, or pulling my gun away from me. With my new eyes, my cerebral cortex can display anything I need from the net about who I'm chasing, where they've been, any information I need direct from my office mainframe. There isn't a person in this city that doesn't have an electronic trail a mile long. I don't care if you're natural birth or don't have any cybernetics at all. If you stepped 1 foot outside your door, someone or something will record it and upload it. One thing I did get special when they hired me, I asked for my trench coat. They asked me if I needed anything else, so I took advantage of the situation. It rains in the city almost half the year. I don't know if it's the atmosphere generators they have located miles out of the city, past the food processing farms. But I needed some protection and comfort. I even had them put in polythermethane nano gel inside the lining on the coat. I got it in my vest too, but not as thick as in my trench coat. It won't stop a gun at close range, but if someone hits me from far away, it would just blow out a large chunk of my jacket, not me. I'd rather live with one hell of a bruise the next day than lie bleeding out on the street. One of the perks I love about my job is that they pay for most of my technology, so I don't plan on quitting anytime soon. If I do, the moment they get the report, they revoke everything, including my high-end cybernetics I get through the department. This job pays well. I'm good at it. I like it. I don't have a corporation telling me what to do. I don't have an immediate deadline for multiple cases they give me. They fund me, arm me, give me a badge, and send me off in the world. One of the few things I do own, and I'm quite proud about, is my custom PKD Katsumata Series D-side arm. I got installed a magnetic grip sync to my optics, can literally watch it jump off its holster as if it was leaping into my hand. It visually shows how many round charges I have available, and it displays on my optical view. I even splurged, got it to sync up to my reflexes if I'm not pointing it in the right exact position I'm looking at. My optics sync to my motor cortex cerebellum and alters my hand position unconsciously. It actually moves my hand slightly to react to my thoughts before I pull the trigger, and can hit a target up to 50 feet away even if in pursuit, and can even hit them in the spine with one shot if I need to. My weapons model is louder than normal standard issue hand pistols, but if I need people to get out of the way, it just takes one shot to scatter a busy street or building of people. The other is my Rise car. I paid extra out of my pocket to get it painted a laminated Denson black Shane coat on the outside that absorbs light, also with sound disruptors, the paint job anyone can do if they want it and can afford it. The sound disruptors are illegal to the general public. 2 other sleeper agents have them. It's only for military use. I wouldn't know why the military would have a use for it unless they're doing something covert. That really doesn't seem like their style. One of the perks of having a Rise car, no traffic, all Rise cars are all patched into the same system of AI. No driver, no problem. That's their motto. Don't have to worry about some asshole dropping down from 40 feet and crushing the top of my vehicle. A lot safer and faster. You just put in on your block phone where you want to go and it takes off. It takes you there 7 times faster than any conventional vehicle, all AI driving, so no one has to worry about my almost invisible vehicle at night flying by. Doesn't matter to the AI being unnoticed from another car when I'm in quiet pursuit. The only thing anyone would have to worry about is some idiot firing into the sky, which happens every now and then you see on the news. Some idiot firing in the sky, either drunk or high or just lost his mind, hits a Rise car by blind luck that crashes into the side of a building, killing the driver and whatever unlucky person is in that part of the building at the time. It's crazy what people feel is perfectly acceptable for AI to do. Driving and controlling all Rise cars in the city. That's if you can afford one. Most of the mass just uses regular cars on the street, if not walking. All public transportation, buses, taxis, trains, all drive with AI. You can't even look out to see where you're going. It's all one big, comfortable living room like set. Inside you see 4 or 5 chairs, normally 2 in the back, maybe a table between 2 facing the other way. They have visual screens on the left and right side if you want to see out a window. The front and the back is where all the technology is. It's mainly designed for comfort, hands-free and with no technology to get the way of people being comfortable. All people, definitely from the lowest person to highest government and biggest corporations, even the damn company who designed them, do not want to see a robot take another person's job or be allowed to enforce lethal harm to any human being. Any robot or AI walking down the street are either working for someone or taking orders from someone else. You'll see them all over the place. Some you see in human clothes now and then, or you just see a bare model walking down the street or in a building. They look like people, arms, legs, fingers, and a head. Sometimes they give them wigs if they're really close to the robot. That's one thing people can agree on. Most people don't like them, don't trust them. Last thing anyone wants is some AI-driven robot thinking for itself or start giving orders to humans. With all the laws out there, robots can and can't do, but that's the problem with people. Give them 100 laws on one thing and they still break them all. They'll go inside of it and change its programming and have an AI break every law out there. They tell you that robots have to follow the 3 laws. They can't kill anyone or themselves, but a few hours illegally tinkering with their insides, you can have them strangle your neighbor down the hall without a hint of hesitation, as if they were given orders to do your laundry. Another part of my job is to put down any rogue robots that break the law. If you see any robot walking down the street carrying more than a bag of groceries or a shovel, that's enough terms to put it down and fine or arrest its owner. Even GTN, the corporation who manufactures, designs, and sells these robots with AI, all agree that with all the laws that are in place from the government and other corporations have agreed to deals all around. For these machines, anytime I had to chase one down, it's always predictable. I noticed that between the minds of humans and the minds of AI robots. Humans don't like change. They fight for what they think is theirs. They'll stand their ground. Try to kill me when I come looking for them. Robots will run. Every time you have to chase them down, they don't want to die or whatever they call death. I think it's a little admirable watching something fight for its life, gives it a touch of humanity. I don't know if that was programmed or just a thought of knowing your demise, trying to live as long as possible. I've never seen one fight back unless it was programmed to. They just run until I put it down. All the cybers inside their mind can tell you a lot of what people can and have done to them. And even with the misuse, people buy them and use them mostly for simple things, cleaning your house, getting your groceries or laundry. That's what they are made for. Happy to help. That's GTN motto. The sound of the city quiets down. The man thinks about what time it is, and the time displays at the bottom corner of his eye. He can see the time flash in from his optical implant perfectly in his eyes, 1:45 a.m. Wednesday, October 10th, 2110. There's still a small crowd of people walking around on the street behind me. If there wasn't the sound of people walking and cars everywhere at this time of night, that would be more startling. The slow hum of a vehicle taking off fills the air quietly from a distance. He can see some spotlight from a Rise car go over the noodle shop. He is still sitting in his chair. To his right is an empty seat. There's been at least 4 people to his right coming and going in the night. He takes out his second badge. He keeps on his belt. He places it on the left side to the empty chair and leaves it on the table. Maybe that'll keep someone from sitting down next to me, giving his elbows some room to breathe. The grinning man in the noodle shop sets down a carbonated drink in front of him. He places his blocked phone on the pad, paying for his order. Last one tonight, he thinks to himself. If I drink more of these, I'll never go to sleep when I get home. Large sounds of young people fill the street as they turn a corner towards the noodle shop. Everyone turns their heads staring, other than him and the men working in the noodle shop. The man turns to see what everyone's looking at. It's a large group of 20-something men and women talking and laughing, dressed like they got out of a club. Scantily dressed girls stumble down the street, some being held up by other girls or men. He thinks to himself, everyone looks drunk. The clubs must have closed. He looks at the shop owner. He's still not looking, focusing on his cooking or cleaning. He must see that every night. He's the only one here that's not impressed with it. He wonders if it's like this on the other colonies. Are there planets or even other solar systems with people doing the day-to-day? Every now and then you hear on the news that our government is sending ships past our solar system, crusaders of life, seeding the galaxy. They want to call it putting our kind on every part of space that we can get our feet on. Like a virus spreading, but I'm sure there's good intentions in it. Can't have space pigs if they're not in space, right? The idea of putting pigs and other animals we bring to eat on other planets is just crazy to me. They never say anything about finding life out there other than microscopic specks of life that do nothing but grow and multiply. You would think the whole purpose of existing is to be a disease, something out there to live and spread from one planet to another. Anytime I thought about looking up strange stuff from beyond the stars or hearing about what our government has found, I always hear strange things. I heard once our government landed on a planet far off in another galaxy. They did finally find intelligent life. You would think that would be a grand achievement for both civilizations, what we can learn from each other. I've heard these creatures look almost like us, hands, fingers, feet, a head. Seems like it's a usual byproduct of intelligent life, but of course, instead of breaking bread and making peace, I've heard we enslave them for not being as technologically advanced as us. We made slaves out of them on their own planet. And for what reason? We have people with bionics and cybernetics. If you want, you can enhance someone, have them be able to lift a whole car. We have robots to do our bidding, no questions asked. Happy to help, that's GTN motto. But instead I heard they enslaved them, beat down the first and only other civilization of alien life we come across. And the crazy part is I heard 2 years later an even higher form of advanced aliens came to that planet. Don't know if it was a coincidence they found it around the same time we did, or if they were just an advanced form of their own species coming back from the intergalactic picnic, or the caretakers of that planet, watching it, nurturing it. And what I heard, they were not happy. I don't know if they have war or they know what war is. Their definition of war might be different than ours. An alien mind is alien to us. That was a couple years ago, so they either just blacklisted our species or it is taking a hell of a lot longer for an invasion of our planet. You think what an advanced species should do in a situation like that? Who knows, that whole thing could have been made up. Every one of those space colonies being shot past our solar system might just be drifting in space at this moment, sailing in the blackness, or other ships floating in space full of dead bodies. I don't think anyone ever will find out the truth. As the man sits there drinking out of his aluminum drink, a green light flashes in his cybernetic eye. He continues quietly to himself. From the wet streets, a man stands out from the crowd, walking slower than anyone. He fiddles around in his pockets, looking around while keeping his face down, giving off the feeling of being nervous and deep in thought. He reaches inside his jacket and walks towards the noodle shop. The nervous stranger takes another step, the loud sound of the rain falling extremely heavy now in the night air, mixing with the smoke rising from the stand, and mixes with all that loud commotion of cars, street horns, and people all around him, all blanket together. He moves closer to the noodle stand, not taking his eyes off the agent's backside, sitting down drinking. He reaches into his jacket as he watches the agent yawn, looking very vulnerable. Suddenly there is a shot heard loudly, startling everyone 20 feet behind him. The agent's the only one that doesn't jolt. A woman screams as a man in front of her falls to the ground. Limp, long, wet, dark, blonde, curly hair matching his trimmed beard hits the wet cement. He has on a slightly stained black tank top with a logo on it. He falls to the ground and doesn't move. The crowd of people take 5 to 10 steps back. A few people run off, thinking a man was shot and killed in front of them. The Spectre agent puts down his drink, stands up casually, picks up his badge from his left side off of the table, waving it around. Everyone looks scared and confused. The man doesn't seem to be bleeding, but they all heard the shot. He explains who he is, what he's doing, and who that is as he points at 2 people and asks them to fill out what they saw on their block phone. He uses his cybernetics to access their phones. A police screen pops up on their device. The rest are allowed to leave. The man pulls out his gun in one hand, holds it above his head, shakes it, signaling an officer far out of sight in uniform 3 blocks away through their cybernetic link. He tells him okay, tag him and bag him. The man leans down, looking to left and right, noticing that the man he is after and caught is alone. He takes the weapon from his unconscious hand. He holsters his own gun after seeing the officer down the street. He walks in view, hands the officer the gun, then stands up, walking to the walls to the other side of the street that was facing his back all night. He stands on a box, pulls a device camouflaged as trash off the wall with a small barrel sticking out of it that fired the dart. Unhooking it, he takes it off the wall with 2 other devices hidden there along the trash and graffiti, watching and waiting to strike and to guard his back through his cybernetics link as he sat down in the shop quietly thinking to himself, waiting, knowing his target would come to kill him, knowing if he announced his presence loud enough and if he flashed his badge to enough people, the man he was after would come to him. Walking back to the unconscious perpetrator face down on the wet cement, he leans down, pulls out of the side of his neck a dart. The toxin the man set as a trap knocked him unconscious in an instant of it entering his neck and bloodstream. He holds his phone to his neck, checking his vitals, ensuring he's alive. Using any kind of AI or robot to take a man's life, wanted or not, is still against the law, even for a Spectre. But using non-lethals is perfectly fine for military and police, and crossing that line for agents and police can lose you everything, your job, and even your freedom. The last thing people on the streets want to see is an AI or a robot kill someone in cold blood or in the name of the law. He pulls out the dart from the man's neck and puts it in a small black cap box and places it in his coat. The officers ask, "Is this the guy you were after?" "Sure is, quick and easy. I had a feeling if I stood out like that, eventually he would crawl out of his hole and fall for my trap." The cop lifts his hat, rubs his brow, and says, "That is sure risking a lot. But I do understand it's your job. But I wouldn't ever have thought of an idea like that, but that's why they pay you guys to do the job," he says as he handcuffs the man's arms and legs, scanning his cybernetics, putting him in full cyber lock. Police drones hang in the air above them, flashing red and blue lights in the rain, keeping people from walking too close as the officer waits for a car to come pick them up. The officer says, "He's not going anywhere. If you need to leave, I know it's late." The Spectre agent adjusts his long big coat, covering the back of his neck with his collar, holding it tight around himself with his hands in his pockets, keeping his chest and legs dry. "No, I'm going to finish my drink before I head out. I'll make sure I let your higher-ups know you assisted me, and you get a couple extra points in your monthly review." As he turns back around, sitting back in his chair, shielding him from the rain and the night sky, and quietly finishes his drink. The end.